There are 123 empires in Hearts of Iron 4. Some of them are massive, some of them are tiny, and some don't make any sense at all. In this video, I will be ranking each and every single one of them, from the smallest micronations to the largest globe-spanning superpowers. This is every empire in HOI 4 ranked from smallest to largest. But before we can get into the ranking, I must establish some rules based on which the empires have been ranked. First off, I will be determining the size of an empire by its state count. More states equals larger empire equals higher ranking. So here's everything I did and didn't include in an empire's state count. States I did include are 1. Every core state a country has at the game start, and every core state the country can get through its focus path or decisions in a normal game. So no combining mutually exclusive focus paths. 2. Every claimed state a country has at the game start, or every claimed state the country can get through its focus paths or decisions in a normal game. 3. Every non-core state a country has at the game start, and every non-core state the country can get without going to war with any other country. Possible states gained from peace deals are not included, because that would mean that literally every state in the game should be counted for every single empire. So no warfare or peace deals. And states I didn't include are 1. War goals of any kind. No states which have been justified on or war goals gotten from the focus tree are counted. I decided to exclude war goals because they are really inconsistent between different focus trees. Some countries get war goals on specific states, and some countries get annexed war goals on half of the world. And for that, I decided to exclude them completely. This may cause some border gore in few cases, but I think it's still better to ignore war goals. 2. Puppets are not included in the state count. Even though for some countries, puppets could be considered to be an integral part of their territory, but for some countries, puppets don't exactly feel like they would be under the direct control of their masters. Counting puppets also has other issues. If the puppets can conquer territory on their own, how much land should they be allowed to conquer before they get annexed, and when exactly should they be puppeted? This leads us to our final rule. Number 3. No chaining focuses or formables in order to core half of the world. Many countries can fully annex other countries with their focus trees. This makes it possible for one country to core much more than is intended for it to. Let me give you an example of chaining focuses / formables. Brazil can core all of South America. Portugal can then core all of Brazil. Then Spain can core all of Portugal. After that, France can core all of Spain, and lastly, the UK can core all of France. This leads to the UK annexing a whole continent with an event focused only on annexing France. So no chaining formables or focuses. Some outside influence is still allowed, because not all empires in this list can be created by one country alone. Now that the rules have been established, we can start our ranking from number 123, the smallest empire in Hearts of Iron 4. Let's go. Okay, there are actually 23 one-state empires, which could be considered to be the smallest empires in the game. That's almost 19% of all the empires on this list. Now I wouldn't consider any country comprising only one state to be an empire. But hey, if it's in their name, there's nothing I can do about it. Let's start in Africa, where we have 8 different one-state empires. These are the Empire of Adal, the Equatorial Empire of Guinea, the Rwanda Empire, the Empire of Burundi, the Empire of Rif, the Empire of Malawi, the Ghana Empire, and the Empire of the Desert. As you can see, I will also be including the ideology of each empire in the corner. Moving up to the Middle East, we have the Empire of Jordan and the Omani Empire. And in Europe, we have the Cypriot Empire and the Sirmian Empire. This one is actually pretty obscure. It can only appear if Yugoslavia does the regional autonomy path of their focus tree. Specifically, this focus will release Vojvodina as a D0 tag. Yeah, it doesn't even have its own tag, which I think is pretty weird. Anyways, Let's move on to Asia, where we will find 3 one-state empires. These are the fan-favorite Thunder Dragon Empire, the Himalayan Empire, and the Imperial Khmer. Even though fascist Cambodia does not have the word empire in its name, I still decided to include it in the ranking, as well as any other country that uses the word imperial in its name. According to Google, the word is used in context of relating to an empire, so that basically means that the country considers itself to be an empire. Okay, let's continue. Just by the coast of New Guinea, we'll find the Solomon Islands, which have rebranded themselves as the Solomon's Empire. I don't think Solomon expected to have his own empire in the Pacific thousands of years later, but here it is. Continuing our journey across the Pacific, we arrive in North America, which is home to 2 one-state empires. Quite surprisingly, none of the Central American one-state countries claim the title of an empire, but if we select the Americas de-imperialized option at the game setup, we'll find the Americas completely under the control of different native states. There are 2 one-state native empires located in Central America, namely the Nahua Empire and the Southwest Mayan Empire. I don't know why their name is so specific. The other Mayan state is literally to the west of this one, so it doesn't make any sense. The last 5 one-state empires are located in the Caribbean. There are surprisingly many empires here, considering the average size of a Caribbean island. Anyways, these are the Jamaican Empire, the Karukara Empire, the Empire of Kairi, the Empire of Dutch Antilles, and the Third Empire of Haiti. The next 7 empires each have a whopping 100% more states than those that came before, which is to say that they all have 2 states. Let's start with the East Polynesian Empire, which consists of the Easter Island and Pitcairn Island, aka Teredit Island. This native superpower is home to a massive 6.6 thousand inhabitants. So yeah, the term empire seems to be thrown around pretty loosely these days. Returning to Asia, we have the Empire of Vietnam, and a bit further west from that, the new Afghan Empire. It's a funny coincidence that both of them are the same size in Hearts of Iron, considering their shared history of being invaded by a certain country. There are also a few self-proclaimed empires in the territory of the Soviet Union. Those are the Neo-Seljuk Empire, that sounds like something straight out of Kaiser Redux, the North Siberian Empire, and the New Jingzid Empire of Altaians and Oirats. Jesus Christ, Paradox goes hard with some of these names. That's also the longest name of any empire in the game, with 43 characters. The last 2-state empire is located in the middle of Africa. If Chad goes fascist, it will be called the Pan-Sahelian Empire. The next 3 empires are 50% larger than those measly 2-state empires. Obviously, 50% isn't as impressive as 100%, but it's still a pretty big increase. First off, we have another cool one. This is fascist Azerbaijan, aka the Empire of Fire. Apparently it's called that because of its abundant supply of natural gas. Back to Oceania. Here we have 2 new empires. The first one is fascist Micronesia, which is called the Second Sordelayer Dynastic Empire. I decided to Google for some more information about the Sordelayer dynasty and saw this on the Wikipedia, which was kinda funny. The second one is the Kiwi Empire. It's also the first empire on our list that has a unique focus tree. It's also probably the worst focus tree in the game, so no wonder the Kiwi Empire only controls 3 states. Next up are the 4-state empires, which are a massive 25% bigger than... Okay, I'll stop now. There are 10 4-state empires across the world. Now for the first time we go to South America, where we have the... Okay, so apparently
Ymerodraeth Patagonia
is based on the Welsh immigrants in South America. But where's the empire, you might be asking? Well, the word
Ymerodraeth
means empire in Welsh. So translated, this is the Patagonian Empire. There's also another native empire called the Mesoamerican Empire of the Maya, right next to the Southwest Mayan Empire. Also, there's yet another Pacific Island empire. This one is called the Empire of the Seas. Over in Asia, we have the Siamese Empire and the Tibetan Empire. Tibet starts the game controlling only 3 states, but they also have one additional core in China. The last 4 states empires are in Africa. So those are the Maghreb Empire, the resurgent Mali Empire, the Greater Kenyan Empire, the Angolan Empire, and the Namib Empire. Let's move up to the 5-state empires, which there are only 3. Back in the Pacific, we'll find a juiced-up Hawaiian Empire, with islands in 5 different sea regions. Deep inside Soviet territory, we have our first formable empire. Any of these 5 countries can form the South Uralic Empire. I wonder if anyone has ever done a playthrough with one of these countries. You're literally surrounded by all sides by the goddamn Soviet Union. If you have done a playthrough with Udmurtia or Tatarstan or any of these countries, please tell me in the comments. Why? Next up, we have the most disappointing empire in the whole game. The new Mongol Empire only has a maximum of 5 states. It's honestly pretty weird that Paradox hasn't added a Mongol Empire formable when it's one of the most iconic empires in history. And it wouldn't even be that outlandish to add in the game, considering some of the other formables we have. I think Mongolia will be getting some sort of focus tree in the next Pacific/Asian DLC, where we will be finally able to truly form the Mongolian Empire. At least I hope so. Moving along to the 6-state empires, we start with another formable. It's the Rattanakosin Empire, which can be formed by the Siamese Empire. Back to Africa, which is home to the Central African Empire and the Empire of Imerina. The island of Madagascar only counts as 1 state, but the country of Madagascar has cores on 5 small islands in the Indian Ocean, which pumps up its state count to 6. The second European empire on this list is also a part of Yugoslavia, namely the Serbian Empire, which also has cores on the Sirmian Empire. In South America is yet another formable empire. This one is a quite new one. I'm of course talking about the Empire of Guyana, which can be formed by one of these 3 countries. However, just forming the nation through a decision in a normal game only gives you cores on 5 states. This empire's true potential is achieved in the Americas de-imperialized mode, where it's a starting country with 7 core states, for some reason. And that's the only 7-state empire I could find. Further south on the continent is another native empire. The Gurani Empire has control of 8 states. In Africa, there are another 2 8-state empires. The fascist version of Egypt is called Imperial Kemet, and fascist Somalia is called the Ajuran Empire, and it actually has cores on half of the Ethiopian states, and a claim on this small British island. The last 8-state empire is fascist Pakistan, which gets the name New Mughal Empire. This one could be another cool formable. Currently, it has cores on all of Pakistan and Bangladesh, and a claim on 1 state controlled by India. The first 9-state empire on our list is the Arabic Empire, aka fascist Saudi Arabia. The second 9-state empire is also the second one to have a unique focus tree. This time is the Bohemian Empire, and just like New Zealand, it doesn't get a single additional state from its focus tree. So far we have gone over 57 empires, and every single one of them had 9 states or less. That means that almost 50% of all the empires in this game have under 10 states, which is pretty crazy. I really don't think that every single country should be running around calling themselves an empire, while controlling less land than an average American state. Why are these 300 square mile islands calling themselves empires? There is no way that any of them have any diplomatic, economic, military or cultural sway on any of their neighbors. I think there are so many empires because Paradox decided that every country tag in this game should have 4 different names for each of the ideologies. And don't get me wrong, I like this feature. I think it adds some nice flavor to all of these less interesting nations. However, because there are so many countries in this game, you are bound to run out of unique names to give them. I think that when making these smaller releasable nations, which no one was ever gonna play, Paradox just decided to slap the word empire on them and call it a day. Luckily, after 10 states, there are less and less empires which share the exact number of states. So from now on, I will be individually listing all upcoming empires without lumping them together by their state count. Got all that? Okay, let's continue. In Central America, we'll find our fourth formable empire. Any one of the independent Central American states can form the... Can you guess it? Well, yes, it's the Central American Empire. Thanks to these two decisions added in the latest DLC, this formable now has an extra core and one extra claimed state, giving it a total of 10 states. If we go to Europe, split France in half, and make them fascist, we'll get a nice 10-state meal called Imperialist Occitania. Now I debated adding this to the list because it's neither an empire or imperial. It's imperialist, and any country can be imperialist. The United States can be imperialist, the Soviet Union can be imperialist, China can be imperialist. However, no other country has included that feature on their name, so I decided to include Occitania for their honesty. They're also a bit bugged, because they don't core this small state in the southwest. Both Indonesia and Malaysia can form the Majapahit Empire, which also has 10 states. I'm not sure if they should also core East Timor. According to this image, the original Majapahit Empire had control of the full island of Timor, so maybe that should be added as a core. Back to South America, where we have yet another 3 native empires. Each one of them also has the same amount of states, 11. In the mountain ranges of the Andes, we discover our very first non-fascist empire, the ancient Inca Empire. However, this country apparently sucks, because if they go fascist, it will be called the Great Inca Empire. Though I'm not exactly sure what Paradox meant by adding this little detail, but it's probably nothing. They do have an interesting flag though. The third 11-state Native American empire is also a famous one. It's the Aztec Empire, which in the Americas de-imperialized mode has 3 core states in the neighboring Maya state. The Aztec Empire is also interesting in the fact that it has the Mexican focus tree. This might make you think that the Aztec Empire can get way more claims and cores with these focuses, but the fascist path requires you to do this focus, which changes the name of the country back to Mexico. The Aztec Empire is thus blocked out of the territorial expansion focuses. Focuses. This is Iran. This is the new Persian Empire. It is just Iran, but fascist. They both have 12 states. This is the East Siberian Empire. It also has 12 states, despite looking massive. Very cool. Greece currently has 3 different formables, but if you want to specifically form the very worst one of them, you need to go down the leftmost focus path, and instead of cooperating with the EEE, you must ditch them and do the Megali Convention. This allows you to form the Hellenistic Empire with 16 states. You probably know Ossa from the fact that it gets annexed by Italy in the first few months of every game. But did you know that Ossa has a unique focus tree, through which it can get claims on all of Ethiopia and some more? 16 states to be exact, and if you turn fascist, you will be called the Empire of the Sands. You can also do the exact same thing as another Ethiopian releasable nation. This one is the Empire of Harar, and it can also get 16 states. Also, don't forget that we got Harar focus tree before we got the Winter War expansion. Next up, we have an European empire whose name starts with Hell. You guessed it, I'm talking about Imperial Helvetia, which can get 17 states. Doing this, however, is a bit gimmicky. You need to do the rightmost focus path and turn fascist. Then you need to ask to become a German puppet, but Germany must reject your offer, otherwise your name will change. Then you need to wait for Germany to occupy Austria, France and Italy, and then you just nicely ask for some grams of land. If they accept, you will gain control of these states. This next one is also a bit gimmicky. As Australia, you need to turn fascist and ask New Zealand to be annexed by you. If they accept, you have gained 3 free states. Now the only way for Australia to become an empire is by having their government changed in a peace deal or by having the United Kingdom start a non-aligned uprising in your territory. If everything goes right, you will now be in control of the Emu Empire and its 18 states. Next up is another lesser known formable nation. This one is the East African Empire, which can be formed by any of these countries. If you do all of the following decisions, you will get 18 core states and a claim on this small British island. Again. In total, that will be 19 states. I'm gonna give you a quick spoiler. Ethiopia is going to appear on this list like 6 times. Yeah, they can form quite a few empires. The smallest one of them being the Aksumite Empire, which you can form by doing this focus. It will give Ethiopia some claims on Yemen and on states along the Nile River. In total, the Aksumite Empire has 21 states. We have now reached our very first major nation. The Empire of Japan, which is what Japan will be called when you do the non-aligned focus path. This path, however, doesn't give Japan any additional claims or cores, which leaves the nation of the rising sun as the smallest of the great power empires, with only 24 states. Do you remember this puny virgin two-island nation calling itself the East Polynesian Empire? Well, this is him now. The Chad 27-state Polynesian Empire is even bigger than the Empire of Japan. Damn, wouldn't have expected such a glow up from Reddit Island. In South America, any of these 5 countries can form the Bolivar Empire, but doing it with Peru gives you the most states. You just need to form the Peru-Bolivian Confederation before forming the Bolivar Empire. This nets you a total of 27 states. Next up, we have the Empire of Solomon. Wait, no, that's Solomon's empire. This is the Empire of Solomon. By doing the focus, one true heir of Solomon as Ethiopia, you can get some extra claims in Egypt and the Holy Land, totaling to 28 states. But if claiming the legacy of a mythical king is not enough for you, you can instead LARP as a literal god. As Ethiopia, you have the opportunity to form the Rastafarian Empire of Zion. This gives you claims and cores in the Caribbean of all places. Quite interestingly, it leaves you in control of the exact same number of states as the Empire of Solomon, which is 28. So that was 2 Ethiopian empires in a row, but how about the third one? This is the plain old Ethiopian Empire, which is the name for fascist Ethiopia. This one you can most realistically form by going down the Italian ally path and breaking free. Then you get some nice claims and cores totaling to 29. There's also a 4th Ethiopian Empire called the Italo-Ethiopian Empire, but this one for some reason I couldn't create in-game. There is a cosmetic tag for Italo-Ethiopian Empire in the localization files, and there clearly is a focus path for it. Despite that, no matter what I tried, I couldn't get the name for Ethiopia in-game. So I just wanted to lump this one in with the other Ethiopian empires, but in reality, this one only exists in the Shadow Realm. Next up we're going to Scandinavia, where we actually have a few empires in a row. Now I must admit that these Scandinavian empires were pretty annoying to determine, because there are like 3 different formables which can be formed by any of the Nordic countries. Also Denmark alone has 4 formables. The focus trees are also sometimes a bit confusing and I had to go through them over and over again. So if there's any region where I made any errors, it's Scandinavia. Now having said that, let's continue the ranking with the Empire of Finno-Ugria, which you can form as Estonia by uniting with Finland and doing this focus. It also gives you cores over the Northern Soviet Union. This one is also broken, as you can see. Right next to it we have the North Sea Imperium, which can be formed both by Denmark and Norway, but doing it as Norway will give you more states. This is because Norway can get some free stuff in Scotland, Ireland and Canada by asking them. In total, the largest version of this empire has 41 states. Now it's time for another major country. Can you guess which one it is? It's the German Empire, with 43 states, which is way fewer than I expected. You can of course get all of your lost European land back and also some claims on your former imperial holdings. However, this one also seems to be a little broken, because you only get a claim on half of Namibia, even though it used to all be under German control. Now this next one can't really be created naturally. This is the fascist Iberian Empire. The reason it can't be created naturally is because there is no way to form Iberia through either of Spain's or Portugal's fascist paths. For Spain, you need to be monarchist, and for Portugal, you need to be communist. However, neither of those focus paths give any additional states to Spain or Portugal, so just do either of them and somehow turn fascist. Doing it either way leaves you in control of 47 states. Next up is one of my favorite countries. The Austro-Hungarian Empire, when combined with the Hungarian focus tree, can net you a total of 47 states. Hungary can get claims on these states in the Levant and also this state in France for some reason. Those who have done some achievement hunting probably already know that Austria-Hungary can get claims on these states because it's a requirement for getting the achievement, which is a massive pain in the ass. From one Habsburg Empire to another. This is the Spanish Empire, which can get claims on the former Aragonese holdings in the Mediterranean. This might seem interesting to all the EU4 enjoyers. So go down the Phalangist path and you will become the Spanish Empire and get a total of 49 states. The next empire is right across the border. Quite interestingly, the fifth Portuguese Empire is actually slightly bigger than the Spanish Empire. With 53 states, it's also the first empire in the silver tier. Using the fascist path, Portugal can get a whole lot of claims in Asia, Africa and the Americas. Now this is a proper colonial empire. Do you remember the Arabic Empire? Well, it's nothing compared to the Arabian Empire, which has a total of
55
states. Back to Scandinavia, unfortunately. This is the Danish Empire, aka the fascist version of this specific formable. It gives you cores on basically all of the coast of the Baltic Sea, which totals to 57 states. This is Iran. This is the new Persian Empire. And this is the plain old Persian Empire, reborn in the 1930s. There's nothing new about this one. It's just like the original and much better for that. It can be formed by Iran or Afghanistan and get a total of
59
states. This next one is also pretty obscure. In the Second American Civil War, the fascist form of the anti-fascist rebellion is called the American Empire. Because the rebels are the quote-unquote liberal faction of the Civil War, they of course only have access to the liberal path of the American focus tree. Now the only focus which gives the US any additional states is the destroyers for bases focus. So in total, the American Empire can have 59 states. Let's move on to the third Bulgarian Empire. And this one is a lot bigger than I would have thought. You of course start with claims on all of the rightful Bulgarian clay, but if you do these two focuses, you get a whole bunch of claims on the coast of the Black and the Mediterranean Sea. Maybe Bulgaria is the true heir to Rome. But anyway, Bulgaria has a total of 59 states. 59 is also the number of states in the Polish Empire, which is what Poland will be called if you do this focus. Funnily enough, Lithuania is not included in the name, even though you can literally annex it with the focus right before this one. Wait a second, a part of Poland just got munched up by another country. Oh, it's the Holy Roman Empire, which can get a total of 61 states. This iconic empire can be formed by Kaiserin Victoria, who you can get as your country leader if you kill the rest of the royal family in Hindenburg. Along with the cores you can get by forming the HRE, you can also get these Polish states through the German focus tree. Next up, we have all 4 empires of China. Yes, 4. Because all the Chinese states and warlords have the same territorial expansion focuses, each one of them can get cores on all of China and a claim on this Indian state, adding up to 62 states. Starting off, there are actually 2 different Chinese empires. The other one is the fascist version of Communist China. The other one can be formed by Manchuria with the Qing Restoration focus. There's also the Yunnan Free Empire, which can get the same 62 states. The last empire in China is a bit more hidden. If you play as Manchukuo and choose the obedience focus path, you can now increase your autonomy. If you do this once, your name will change to Empire of Manchukuo. Now if you conquer all of China, you will be a
61,
state empire, which still happens to be a puppet of Japan. It's time for Poland to have their revenge. This is the Polish-Lithuanian Empire, which can be formed by both Poland and Lithuania, but the Polish one is slightly bigger thanks to these claims you can get on German territory. All in all, the Polish-Lithuanian Empire has 67 states. This is the Free American Empire. It's like the American Empire, but free. It also has access to the expansionist focused path, which gives you much more states. You can get land from Canada, some islands and territories from Britain, and Indochina from France. The Brits also give you Gibraltar and Hong Kong for some reason. Anyway, just by the power of American diplomacy, you can grow yourself to a nice size of 70 states. Next up is the Turkic Empire, which you can form with one of these countries. But if you do it with Tanu Tuva, you can also form the Siberian formable and get a load of extra cores. In total, the Tuvan Turkic Empire will have
73,
states. Back to the Americas, where we have the Third Mexican Empire, which is just slightly bigger than the Free American Empire, with 74 states. Also, it's a bit of a hidden name for this country, because at the game start, neutral Mexico is just called Mexico. But if you do any of these focuses and then turn back to neutral, you will be now called the Third Mexican Empire. It's time for another major nation, and this one is, at least in my opinion, a big disappointment. It's a Bonapartist French Empire, which doesn't get a single additional state from its focus tree. Despite that, the French colonial empire racks a net total of 75 states. Next up, we have another case of back-to-back placements for the same country. This time is the Empire of Brazil and the Empire of Brazil and Portugal. Both of them can get a bunch of claims in Africa and the Atlantic with these focuses. You can also get all of the Portuguese colonies with both empires, but if you successfully unite with Portugal by doing this focus, you will get 7 extra states from Portugal. Next up, we return to my favorite region, specifically the strongest country of said region. Sweden can create the largest version of the Kalmar Union, whose fascist version is called the Scandinavian Empire. If you go down the fascist path, you can puppet and then integrate all the other Nordic countries. Additionally, if you do this focus, you will get a huge amount of claims on the old lands of the Kievan Rus. Now combine all this together and you will have a nice and strong
83,
state Scandinavian Empire. If I were you, Persia, I'd watch out, because here comes the Macedonian Empire, the second best Greek formable with
85,
states. This one you can create by doing this focus in the fascist path. Now if you do the exact same thing again, but this time, instead of pressing this button, you press this one, you will officially have formed the Nordic Empire, which has 4 more states than the Scandinavian Empire. This is thanks to these claimed states here in Karelia and on this Scottish island. And to top our streak of Swedish formable nations, we have our last Scandinavian empire. It's the Eternal Nordic Empire. Pretty badass name, not gonna lie. This one you can form if you go down the monarchist path and then do these 2 decisions. Now Sweden has some cores in the Americas and Africa, and also these 2 cores in Germany. All in all, the Eternal Nordic Empire has
93,
states. But wait, there's more. Okay, this is interesting. The communist version of the Eternal Nordic Empire is called the Nordic People's Free Democratic Empire. Not only is this name way too complicated, it's also, to my knowledge, the only communist empire in the entire game. I expected there to be none, because communists don't exactly like to associate themselves with imperialism, but I guess the Swedes are just built different. Okay, apparently there's also a third version of this formable. The fascist version is called the Empire of Nordland, or at least it should be. In the localization files, the fascist form of this country has this name, but in-game it will still be called the Eternal Nordic Empire. I'm not sure why the name in the files doesn't appear in-game, but if it did, it would probably still have the exact same state count. But because this empire doesn't technically exist, it will for now only remain in the Shadow Realm. Okay, so I have to warn you a bit beforehand. What you're about to see is one of the worst cases of border gore I have ever seen in Hoi 4. Now that you have been warned, here's the Turkish Empire.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
Jesus Christ. Not even Turkish YouTube commenters claim these lands for Turkey. Since this at first glance doesn't make any sense, I probably have to do some explaining. Doing the Turkish fascist path gives you some claims and cores on Bulgaria and Greece. And this is reasonable, this is expected from an irredentist focused path. On the other hand, the Finnish, Hungarian and Siberian states are claims that Turkey can get from the Turanist section of the focus tree. Since you can get all these claims before forming Turan, and also there is no Empire of Turan, I included them in Turkey's state count. Now this is truly awful since Turkey doesn't get any claims on states that connect these territories, so there are just random Turkish exclaves in Asia and Europe. Luckily Turkey will still redeem itself with a much more beautiful empire later on. We don't have to travel far to find our next empire. Actually, it shares a historic capital with the last one. You already know who I'm talking about. It's the Byzantine Empire, the #1 Greek formable. It's also interesting that all of the Greek formables are called empires. But yeah, if you want to reform this beautiful purple blob, you need to go down the leftmost focus path, but this time ally with the EEE. When you're conquering Turkey, the EEE will launch a coup, and now you can revive the Byzantine Empire. Doing all the decisions give you cores on basically all of the land under Byzantine control at its peak, which in the game corresponds to 95 states. We have one more native empire on our list, and it's the strongest one by far. This is the Mapuche Empire. Now hold on, doing the Mapuche path on the Chilean focus tree barely gives you any cores, right? Well, that's true. But do you remember our old friend, America's de-imperialized mode? In this mode, the Mapuche start off controlling much of Southern America, and on top of that, they still have the Chilean focus tree. Now if you go down the fascist path, you can get claims on all of South America. Your name will also change to Mapuche Empire. It's a bit cheesy, but it's the strongest version of this country. However, it just missed a spot in the gold tier by just few states. Our first gold tier empire is a much bigger alternative to the disappointing French Empire. Go down the monarchist path again, but this time, instead of crowning a Bonaparte, choose the true claimant of the French throne, the Bourbon. Now, if you unite with Spain and ditch the king and turn to fascism, you will be in control of the 102-state Franco-Spanish Empire. Adding all of Spain and its few colonial holdings to the French starting territory is just enough to reach the gold tier. And our last empire before the top 10, just like in real life, takes the place of Byzantium. Yes, it's the Ottoman Empire, with 104 states, and this time it actually looks nice. Now look, I think I'm not gonna give a step-by-step guide on how to form the Ottoman Empire, because the Turkish focus tree is an absolute mess. There are some good tutorials on YouTube, but if you manage to get the Sultan back in power and do all of these decisions, you will reach the true maximum of Turkish potential. Now we have finally arrived in the top 10. These are the countries that truly deserve the title of an empire. Every one of them is easily in the gold tier, and the top 3 are even in the platinum tier. Can you guess which 3 empires they are? Leave your guesses in the comments. Now, without further ado, let's finish this ranking. Starting our top 10 is the beautiful purple Hispanic Empire in South America. This one can be formed as Chile by going down the fascist path and uniting Hispanic America. This focus and a few decisions allow you to basically core all of Hispanic America, which totals to 119 states. The number 9 largest empire in the game is also in South America. Actually, it's the South American Empire, with 120 states. This one also can be formed by monarchist Brazil. Instead of choosing to be a bad expansionist neighbor, you should adopt the good neighbor policy instead. Trust me, it's even more expansionist. With this path, you can form your own South American faction with other South American neutral or democratic countries. After completing the last focus, you will be known as the South American Empire, but getting the 120 states is a whole another task. You can now propose integration to other countries in your faction. This includes every Central American and Caribbean country. Getting all 120 states is not very likely to happen in a normal game. Anyhow, I think this integration system would fit perfectly for an upgraded European Union path for a certain country in Europe. The British Empire was the largest empire in history. In Hearts of Iron though, it's only big enough to land the 8th spot on our list with 121 states. British Empire is the name for the fascist version of UK. I always thought that British Empire would have been a much more fitting name for the monarchist path, but I don't know. Anyways, the British Empire doesn't actually directly control all of its dominions. Basically, the fascist path only gives it claims on Ireland and India. No other dominion can be integrated into the empire without doing something that changes Britain's name again. And what that something is, we will be talking about very soon. If South American Empire was the ultimate American empire, this one must be the ultimate African empire. At number 7 we have the African Empire, formed of course by Ethiopia. Now this is another one that can't really be formed naturally. If you do the communist or anarchist path with Ethiopia, you can invite other African nations to the African Union, and through some decisions, you can core every single African state. Now if you somehow flip fascist, you will be called the African Empire. Counting the maximum states of this behemoth was a bit less straightforward, but if I got it right, the African Empire should have exactly 123 states. Number 6 is the Italian Empire, with 127 states, and to be honest, it was a hell of a lot more than I expected. I always thought that the Greater Italian/Italian Empire formable was just an all-around worse version of the Better Italian formable. And yeah, it still is, but these focuses give it a massive amount of claims on basically all of Mediterranean and North Africa. Pretty impressive, but it's nothing compared to the last 5 contestants. At number 5 we have a surprise contender, as Poland has decided to unite all Slavic peoples under a single flag. This is the Pan-Slavic Empire, which spans a massive 189 states. This is also another unnatural one, because to form the Pan-Slavic Union, you need to take Anastasia as your leader. This means you have to become monarchist. However, turning fascist afterwards will form the Pan-Slavic Empire. Also, this empire cannot be formed by Russia, because no matter the ideology, the Russian Pan-Slavic Union will always have the same name. So this spotlight is Poland's alone. Number 4. The restored Norman Empire. If you're like me, you probably never even heard of this country. Well, it's most likely because this country can only be formed by an event which basically never happens. Basically, this is just UK and France united, which can only happen if France chooses to do the Franco-British Union after capitulating to Germany. This doesn't happen in historical mode, and it's still very rare in unhistorical mode. On top of that, Britain must turn fascist afterwards. After uniting, the UK can also get claims on Ireland and all of India, which bumps up the total state count to 196, just missing out the platinum tier. And now, the top 3. Taking the number 3 spot is the Empire. Yes, this is the Empire. This is him. With the Imperial Federation focus, Fascist Britain can integrate most of the British dominions. The fascist path also gives Britain claims on India. The Imperial Federation formable alone gives Britain a ton of states. But wait, there's more. The empire can also, for some reason, form the European Union without changing its cosmetic tag. So on top of every state you can get from the Imperial Federation, you can also core most of Germany, France, Italy and the Lowlands. In the end, the empire has control of 241 states, but still there are 2 empires even bigger than that. I'm probably not the only one who thought that this would have been number 1. It is after all what everyone thinks of when they hear the word empire. But in Hearts of Iron, it's only the 2nd largest empire. This is the Imperium Romanum, the Roman Empire. Arguably, the most powerful formable in the entire game. It gives you cores on all of Italy, France, Spain, the Balkans, Mediterranean, the list just goes on and on and on. In total, the Roman Empire has 244 states, and basically all of them are cores. Despite being the most iconic empire in history of mankind, and the most powerful country in the whole game, there is still one more empire, which leaves Rome in its shadow. And number 1. This is the largest empire in the whole game. With 262 states, the Russian Empire dwarfs almost every other on this list. Now hold on, how is this the largest empire in the game, when the Slavic Union, which is basically the exact same, was only the 5th largest empire? It doesn't even have any of the other former Russian imperial holdings. Well, for some reason, Russia doesn't get a single claim or core on any other European country through its fascist path. However, if you do this focus, you get claims on all of China. Also, you can integrate all the other Slavic nations without becoming the Slavic Union, thus creating the largest empire in the game. So, that was it. Every single empire in Hearts of Iron 4 ranked smallest to largest. Of course, the ranking can be done in many different ways, for example by annexing all your puppets or doing the ridiculous country chains. I know my rules may have caused some weird placements and borders, but this is what I decided to go with. But wait, don't go yet. Here's some additional information I decided to gather in the end. These are the numbers of empires in each continent. As you can see, Europe has the most different empires and Asia comes in second. These are all the countries in the game which can form any empire. These are the countries which can form most different empires. Here's the statistics for ideologies of all empires. And this is how many empires are starting nations and how many are releasable nations. This was a pretty big project, and there probably were some mistakes in my ranking. If you noticed any errors, please tell me in the comments below, and I will add them to a pinned comment. If you want to see more of these kinds of scripted informational videos about Hearts of Iron 4, go ahead and subscribe. It would be great if I could get 30 likes on my first video. It would mean a lot to me and it would give me a lot of motivation to continue making better YouTube videos. So subscribe for some more Hoi 4 videos. Thank you, and see you in the next one.